Hello, 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 everybody. How are we all doing? I'm going to open up my little chat box. And this is how we actually do it in our transformation support community. We always start off with a little chat and saying hello to everyone. So please feel free to say hello. Tell us where you're from. You can see a few people's faces popping up on the screen. So if you'd like to share your face, please do, but you totally don't have to. G'day, Tona. We've got a couple of people that I can see who are already in our transformation support community. I invited those guys last night at our TSC webinar, just because the tapping is the next series we're doing in the program, and I thought they might want to check out what we're going to get up to. G'day, Janelle. G'day, Denise from Adelaide. Cameron from Sydney. G'day, Lyndall. I saw Denise wave. How you doing? Hello, Janine. And how many people we got in here? Oh yeah, 57. G'day, Carolyn from New Zealand. And Karen and Madeline and Kim. It's nice to see some waving faces. Oh yes, hi, Karen says hi everyone from lockdown in Sydney. Hello from lockdown in Brisbane also. All right, guys, we might get started. And I'm going to share my screen because we have quite a bit to cover today. And I think we'll probably go for maybe around about, I reckon about 50 minutes to an hour or so, and we'll have time for questions. I'll try and keep an eye on the chat box and we can talk through there. I like this. Christina, hello from non-locked down Melbourne, the only time you're not locked down. All right, cool. So the first thing that I wanted to say was welcome to the webinar and thank you so much for your interest. When you're looking at psychology, and especially tapping psychology, which is a fairly unique technique, it is a little bit different to what some people might be used to. And I'm super aware that if you're looking to take control of your eating or change your physical activity or work on your weight or your body image, there are just so many different things that you can do. And so because you have so many options, and sometimes psychology and maybe especially tapping is a little bit different and quite unique, it does take a bit of a leap of faith to have some interest in it. And as I'll show you, this work gets absolutely brilliant results, so it will be worth it, but it does require that leap of faith. So I'm really thankful that you're at least thinking about taking that leap. Now, you may know me, but I just thought I'd start with a little introduction. My name is Glenn Mackintosh, and I did my study and my research in psychosocial factors and weight management. And I have published some academic research, some of which is on tapping, and I'll talk you through this a bit later. But I think my real value to you is probably in my clinical experience. I've been working one-on-one with people for 15 years, been running groups in this space for 11 years, and online programs for 7 years. So I think a real strength of our work is it's not just academically or just theoretically based. We do know how to help you transform when the rubber hits the road and apply the ideas to you. I head up weight management psychology, which is a private psychology practice. We have 6 psychologists now and 1 dietitian. And I'm lucky enough to do some teaching and mentoring and be able to teach psychologists through the Australian Psychological Society and dietitians through Dietitians Australia and some other groups. I feel as though we're just realizing how important psychology is if you do have concerns about your weight or your body image or your physical activity or your eating. So I do like spreading messages that I believe are compassionate and evidence-based, and also a little bit innovative in the public. So that's a little bit about me. But what are we going to do today? I'm going to talk you through what tapping actually is, and Em here, who's facilitating this this webinar, will be smirking, I bet, because I'm a notorious slide changer. So I decided when I just rehearsed this beforehand that we're actually going to do a bit of tapping, and we're going to do a little bit of a crash course in tapping. Then we're going to talk about the benefits of tapping, but from a scientific perspective. So as a psychologist, science is the way that I understand truth, and I understand what will help you and what won't help you. So we're going to talk through some of the actual science behind tapping, and particularly as it relates to food and weight. And then I'm going to let you know about this upcoming 8-week series that we have happening with Peter. So who is Peter? If you don't know, she probably needs no introduction to most people, but if she does, and Peter can't be here today because she's on holidays in Port Douglas. Well, I hope she's on holidays in Port Douglas. But she's an associate professor at Bond Uni, and Peter is widely regarded as the world's leading tapping researcher, especially when it comes to food cravings and weight concerns. She's the program director of the Clinical Masters of Psychology at Bond. And that Clinical Masters is broken into 2 streams, a clinical stream and a health stream. So she's a wonderful clinical and health psychologist. She's also one of the handful of EFT tapping master trainers. And last time I checked, this may have changed, but she was one of only a few in the Southern Hemisphere. She's the author of The Science Behind Tapping, which is probably, it's the seminal work on the science for tapping in all areas. And she's also created the EFT Tapping for Weight Management online program, which I'll talk to you about down the track in the webinar too. So, what is tapping? So the full name of tapping is emotional freedom techniques, or we often shorten it to EFT, or we call it tapping, because what we're doing is we're tapping on various acupressure points. And because we're tapping on these acupressure points, one way that you can think about it is it's like psychological acupuncture, but without the needles, which is good for me because I hate needles. But another way that you can think about it is that it's just a unique, physically based exercise that helps to calm your mind so you can think more clearly and make better choices. So no matter what we're tapping on, and you will see that you can tap on a whole variety of problems, but no matter what we're tapping on, you will experience it probably as quite relaxing. And of course, when we're more relaxed, we're more able to make maybe more logical decisions and ones that are less based on powerful emotions. Okay, let me just pause because I'm seeing some things on the chat. Someone said, has Glenn put anything up on the screen? Because I can only see black. Alison said, yes, these slides are showing. Let me know, guys. We got time, and I don't want to be, the slides are pretty important for this bit. So just let me know in the chat box. Are you seeing my slides? Yeah, Wendy said I can see. Carolyn, yep. Okay, cool. So a couple of people are having little technical issues. Most people can, so that's great. And if you're having little technical issues, just get in contact with Emma. Her tag is Weight Management Psychology, and she will help you through it as best. as best you can. But that's good. Most people are seeing it, so this is good. I want to be talking to myself the whole time. Okay, cool. So let's have a look at the basic recipe of tapping and what we actually do when we tap. So the first thing is we identify a problem. So you can tap on any problem, but that's what we start with, identifying the problem. And then we rate that problem on a scale of 0 being not there at all to 10 being the biggest I could possibly imagine at that time. And this is the same process no matter what we're tapping on, the same recipe no matter what we're applying the tapping technique to. Then we do this setup. So we're tapping on this point here that I'll show you, we call the karate chop point, and we say a statement 3 times, and that really sets our tapping up and helps us to focus on the problem. And then we're going to continue after that. And we're going to tap on these 8 points on the face and the body. And we're saying these phrases that are going to help us to focus on the problem. So the tapping technique is not just tapping on your face or body. It's the tapping combined with actually focusing on the problem that you have. And then we actually focus on it by verbalizing statements about it. So we might do that for a few rounds of tapping on these 8 points. Then we take a breath and simply just re-rate the intensity of the problem. We can typically it'll go down, and we just repeat that process until the problem is a 0 or practically a 0. And often it happens surprisingly quickly. So what we're going to do now is we are going to actually give this a go. And this is a super crash course. So I know there'll be some people here who are experienced tappers. You guys, it'll just be the quickest refresh for you guys. You'll be right up with this. And then if you're new, this is a real total crash course. So it'll just give you a tiny little feel for what we do. So I'm going to give you the problem this time. And what I'm going to give you is a problem that a lot of us have to some extent, and that is constricted breathing. So often when most of us breathe, they're not completely full, comfortable, easy breaths. So what I'd like us to do now, and I want you to do this with me, is to take a breath, a big breath, and then I want you to rate your level of discomfort or your level of constriction in that breath. So 0 would be it's not at all. That was the most deepest, fullest, easiest, calmest breath I've ever taken. And 10 would be I can barely breathe. I need to stop this webinar and call the ambulance. And what I'd like you to do is actually put a number in the chat box. Write it down and or put it in the chat box. So for me, when I do that, I'm probably about a 5 or a 6 because I sort of have neck and back issues and they sometimes constrict my breathing. So what have we got here? We've got one lucky 0, but we've got a 6, 4, 4, 6, 6, 5, 4, a lot in that mid-range, 6, 7. Yeah, a lot of 5s, 6s and 7s. Couple of 2s in there. Perfect. Good job. Okay. So now that's the first thing we do when we tap. We determine the problem and rate that problem on a scale of 0 to 10. Then we're going to tap on this karate chop point. So if you do this with me quickly, you can tap with 2 or 3 fingers and you're just feeling that resonance right in the middle of your hand there, right on the ridge there. So when we do our setup, we're basically going to now set up ourselves to focus on the problem. And you can just keep tapping along. And the setup statement has 2 bits. A little bit tricky, but you get the hang of it really quickly. It's an acknowledgement of the problem. I've got constricted breathing. And then a self-acceptance statement. And typically that self-acceptance statement is a standard one. We say, I love and accept myself. So, good question. Christina asked, does it matter which hand? Absolutely doesn't matter which hand. Either is fine. Normally, you'll probably be just automatically tapping with your dominant hand. So I'm a lefty, so that's what you do. You can switch if you want to. Sometimes after you do a bit of tapping, you might get sick of that and switch over. Doesn't matter at all. So the setup statement is, even though I have this problem, whatever the problem is, I love and accept myself. So in the program, we'll show you how to modify this and really fine tune it. But if you just work with me, and we'll start off by saying, even though I have this constricted breathing, I love and accept myself. And I want you to repeat that after me. So in the setup statement, we do that 3 times. Even though I have this tight breathing, or whatever you want to say, I love and accept myself. Even though I have this 6 out of 10 discomfort with my breathing, I love and accept myself. So setup statement, you really will end up choosing your own words, but they're the type of things you might say. Even though I have this problem, and some type of self-acceptance statement. I love and accept myself is the one we often start with. So that sets up the tapping. Now, the next thing that we do is we're going to tap on these series of points on the face and body. And we don't have to say that whole setup statement this time. We just say what we call reminder phrases, which are words or phrases that help us focus on the discomfort. So we're actually focusing on the problem, which is a little bit different to a lot of techniques. We're not trying to ignore the problem. This is not a distraction technique. This is a technique where we focus on the problem, and the tapping, that combination of focusing on the problem and tapping on the acupressure points will clear it away. So we'll start off on the eyebrow point, just up here. And if you just follow me. Oh, and it's good. Ruth can see now. She's with us now. That's good. Welcome back, Ruth. And we might just say constricted breathing. We'll move to the second point, side of the eye, like where your temple is. This constriction in my breathing. I'm going to go under the eye. This tightness in my breathing. If it's a particular sensation or feeling for you, you can just replace what you're experiencing, what you notice about the problem, with what I'm saying. Under your nose. This tightness in my breathing. Chin, discomfort when I breathe. Collarbone, this discomfort. Below arm, this tightness in my breathing. And right on the top of your head in the center here, this discomfort. Take a breath. My neck loosened up a little bit so I can give it a bit of a crack. And look, guys, this is a super duper crash course, but what I'd like you to do is just re-rate the intensity and ask yourself, has it gone up? Has it gone down? So please, in the chat box, give me your new level of discomfort, your new level of the problem, and we'll see if they've gone kind of up or down. Lainey said, yay, 2. Oh yeah, so we're getting some 0s, some 3s, some 2s, some 4s, some 2s. One went, Anna's went from a 6 to a 3. Yep, 5 from 6, so down 1. Yeah, from a 5 to a 1. So yeah, that's generally the experience. You've got lots of 2s and 3s. So we see that people's numbers are generally a lot lower. And this is something that's really, really cool about the tapping technique, is that it actually works really, really quickly. It's good because it ends up becoming self-reinforcing, because every time you tap on a problem, you feel a bit better, you get some instant relief. And so that's why it's actually, people often like doing the tapping technique. And Lainey said, so cool. It is so cool. Well, thank you guys for going through that little activity. And now if if you previously hadn't done any tapping, you've now done some. So great work. Oh, you're welcome, Kim. Kim said that was really lovely. Thank you. Yeah, it's a really lovely process. No, really, really good job, guys. Now that we've given it a go, and I'm glad I listened to my intuition and let us give it a go, and I'm glad you really worked with me, because otherwise that exercise wouldn't have worked very well. So good job, everyone. Now let's switch tracks for a bit, and we'll start to talk about the science behind tapping, because I think this is really important. One thing that convinced me that from becoming a tapping doubter to a tapping advocate was experiencing it, and you kind of go, whoa, this really, really works. And I still do love training health professionals in the tapping technique and just watching the kind of look of disbelief. They kind of look at each other like, this is working. So that's really, really cool. But what originally brought me to start to explore the tapping technique was absolutely the science. So Peter and her colleagues in 2012 published the first ever study of tapping for food cravings and weight concerns. So what they did was like a 4-week thing, and people came for basically weekly 2-hour group sessions. And then they were followed up 6 months after that 4 weeks, and then 12 months again. So that was the study. And this was the first study I remember reading about tapping, thinking, look, I'm always into the research. Seemed a bit weird to me. And people had actually told me for years. I started practicing, seeing clients in 2005. And I think since then they were saying, Glenn, you've got to explore this tapping technique. And I'd kind of say to them, sounds interesting, but there at that stage, there wasn't any science in my area: food, exercise, weight, body image. But in my head, I'd kind of be like, sounds a bit weird. But then this study came out, and I read it, and this is what I found. So the first thing that was really interesting to me was that there was significant improvement, reduction in weight and BMI, but it followed an interesting pattern. So normally, what we find is that anything that's focused on weight loss, people get this, what we call a Nike swoosh of weight loss, which is, some speed of weight loss, often fairly fast. But then it's all regained, and people tend to start regaining it when they stop the program, whether it's a 4-week program or an 8-week program or a 12-week program or whatever it is. But what happened in this study was that after the 4 weeks, there was really just the tiniest little bit of weight loss, just less than half a kilo. But then when the people were followed up 6 months later, they had lost a couple of kilos, which is interesting because normally without doing bariatric surgery, people don't continue to lose weight after the treatment finishes. They start to regain whatever weight they've lost. That's a typical pattern that we find in weight research. Then what really came to my mind was that a year later, they'd actually lost on average 5 kilos, which is a significant amount of weight to be down a year later, given they only did 4 weeks of group treatment. And this is really interesting to me because one of the things that we find about tapping is that it often works faster than what we usually do. And we can see that with the little bit of tapping that we just did on our breathing, but it actually often lasts longer. Interestingly, tapping and hypnosis, which we'll talk about a little bit in a minute, are the only 2 therapies that are non-surgical, so not doing weight loss surgery, where the results continue after the treatment finishes. What else happened? People's food cravings went down. They desired their problem foods less. Their subjective power of food also went down. So you probably don't know what that means, and psychologists love big words. But what it really means is that people became less sensitive to the food cues around them. So food had less power over them. So if someone offered them, for example, it was easier for them to say, no, I don't want that, and actually feel that way. Or if it was in the house, it didn't matter whether it was in the house or not, they still didn't have the desire to eat it. So obviously that's really, really important. The psychological coping improved. What the psychological coping is a measure of depression, anxiety, stress, those type of things. So people became more mentally well. And maybe the most interesting to me is I've done just so much research, and even recently wrote a book on the psychology of dieting, is that dieting mindset actually decreased in these people. So what we often see when people lose weight is that they become more diety in their headspace. And then that can cause a whole lot of problems, as I'm sure that we know. But these people actually lost a bit of weight, got all these benefits in their relationship with food, and felt better, but they actually became less diety in the process. So that was super duper cool. Now, I won't talk you through this in a huge amount of detail, but often in science, what we have to do after an initial study is we have to replicate that study to kind of show that it wasn't a fluke and to give it more evidence and more weight behind it. So in 2016, Peter and colleagues compared the tapping treatment with what at the time was the gold standard treatment for food cravings, which is cognitive behavior therapy, which I'm sure that a lot of you would know about. And they compared the results of people who had these concerns with food and weight to just a normal community sample who didn't have these concerns. And this is what they found. Basically, and we'll just talk about the 12-month follow-up, because long-term is kind of the name of the game in this space, as I'm sure that you know. What they found was that really food cravings, power of food, and restraint, they all started off in these groups worse than normal. But both the tapping and the cognitive behavior therapy helped this group who had these worse than normal results establish results that were actually normal community results. So their food cravings went from higher than normal, their food cravings went down, the power of food went down, their dieting mindset went down, all to a level that was relatively normal. So if you feel as though your eating is abnormal, like your food cravings are abnormal, or your dieting mindset, you're in this real dieting mindset more than the average person, or you're more sensitive to food being around than other people, then what the science shows is that tapping can help to normalize your relationship with food, which is pretty cool. And I know a lot of my clients do feel that way. Okay, so let me just have a little sip of water. So okay, I started reading this research on tapping, the 2012 study. I started a tap. And then maybe a year or two later, Peter and I were actually, and I'd never met Peter at this stage, we were actually asked to present for the Australian Psychological Society on innovations in healthy eating, innovations in the psychology of eating. And Peter took the morning session and she talked about tapping. I took the afternoon session and I talked about non-dieting. And from there, I was absolutely convinced. I'm like, this is fantastic. Peter is wonderful. And at this stage, I'd already had online programs for quite a while. And one of my clients said to me, I was tapping with her and she had a great session. She said, Glenn, you got to put this into an online program. And I thought to myself, you know what? I don't know enough yet. But I thought to myself, I know someone who does. So I called Peter thinking that she would probably say no. And I said, hey, Peter, I do these online programs. Do you want to get together and do a tapping program? And she said, yeah, let's do it. So I think maybe about 2015, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. In about 2015, we created this this tapping online program. Online was really important to us because online can be accessed, of course, anywhere in the world, and it's typically a lot cheaper than working one-on-one with an EFT practitioner. So then, being such big believers in the research, we wanted to go that step further and actually research our online program and see, could you get the benefits that you got from one-on-one face-to-face tapping or group face-to-face tapping? Could you get that in an online environment? So we took 600 people worldwide, and we did it was actually the first ever research in online tapping for weight concerns. And to our knowledge, it's the first ever research of online tapping. So I'm really proud of it. And you'll see that we were able to start to show that online tapping can actually work. Before that, a lot of people were doing online tapping, but we didn't actually have any science to show whether it worked or not. And here's what we found. We measured the same kind of things: food craving, dieting mindset. And you'll notice that I use restraint and dieting mindset interchangeably. That's the psychologist's kind of term for dieting mindset. Willpower, depression, anxiety, somatic symptoms. Basically, somatic symptoms are things like difficulty breathing, things like physical pain, trouble sleeping, that type of thing, and weight and BMI. And the cool thing is that everything improved over. Our program was an 8-week program. We did compare the results with a control group, so to kind of test for, just as a sort of a baseline group. That control group showed no improvement, which we'd expect because they didn't do anything. But really interestingly to us, we found that at 6 months after the program and 12 months after the program, there was a significant improvement had remained in all of these things. So that was really, really cool. And it did sort of show that online tapping can be as effective as face-to-face tapping, which is really interesting, really cool. But as we all know, when it comes to managing your eating, managing your weight, your body image, your exercise, it's really long-term that is the name of the game. A lot of things can get short-term benefits. So we wanted to sort of extend out that follow-up period to see how people did in the longer term. So we've done a 2-year follow-up study. And again, I'm really proud of this work that we've done here. You can see Peter's the first author. I'm number 3, and Emma Sparenberg, who is showing up here as weight management psychology, is the other author. And we're really, really proud of this because it shows that we can maintain those results for a couple of years after people have done our program. So that's really, really cool. And it does mean that our tapping program is the only clinically proven tapping program in the world. And also, our program is the only program that actually features Peter. A lot of other programs will talk about her work and reference her research, but ours is the only one where Peter talks you through the tapping technique and supports you every step of the way. Okay, so for people who are not numbers people, let's put a little bit of a human face on this. This is one of our sort of 600-person trial participants. And she said, her name is Ronna, and she said, the 15 pounds I wanted to lose had me obsessed. I did not binge eat, but I thought about food all the time, always wishing I could eat more, always thinking about my next meal. That is now gone. I've read EFT weight loss books, done tapping with other EFT weight loss programs, but until now, that ugly beast of food obsession still ruled. Now I'm happier, healthier, and more grounded. Thank you. So that's an example of one of our trial participants. And yeah, the amazing results that they got. Really, really cool. It was really, really special stuff. And, it was a great opportunity for us to help a lot of people in that trial. But also we actually learned a lot in the trial to improve the program a lot further too. So let's talk a little bit more about why we might get these benefits from doing this physically based psychological technique. There was some previous research in trauma actually that showed that tapping actually calmed down the limbic system of the brain, calmed down the amygdala, and so it was actually having neuropsychological effects. I suppose there's probably two main ways that we can explain the mechanism of tapping. One is to talk about the Chinese medicine perspective. We're tapping on acupressure points. We're unblocking energy along your meridian pathways. That's about as much as I know about that. I'm sure there's a lot of people there who know a lot more about it than me. Two Western trained psychologists and a lot of us in the Western world, looking at what happens in the brain when we tap may make a little bit more sense. So Peter, again, was the first person to research what happened in the brain when we tap when it comes specifically to food cravings. So she basically did that 4-week tapping intervention face-to-face, and she compared the results of the tapping program with another control group who didn't get any treatment. And she actually put these guys in an MRI to see what happened with their brains around food cravings. So here are the results. So what we see here is if we just look at this image here on the left, this is a control participant. So what this person on the left, what happened to them is they basically went into the MRI machine and they were shown images of yummy foods, what researchers call hyperpalatable foods. So like a nice level of fat, salt, and sugar. And what happened, super unsurprisingly, is that parts of the brain we can see here in orange that are associated with emotions, that are associated with fight or flight, and that are associated with viewing yummy food or hyperpalatable food kind of lit up, which makes perfect sense. Then 4 weeks later, these participants were put back in the MRI and the same thing, shown these pictures of these yummy hyperpalatable foods. We can see here on the right that we're getting a similar level of brain activation. The brain's kind of lighting up, going, yummy food. But here, let me talk you through one of the tapping participants. So again, on the left, this is their brain being shown these images of food before tapping. And then on the right, this is the brain being shown the images post tapping. So same thing happened. They'd done the 4 weeks of tapping, then they were brought back into the MRI, shown these images of the hyperpalatable food. But you can see here that there's really little to no brain activity there in the orange. The orange is the stuff that we're really concerned about. And the words that the researchers use is that tapping deactivates the emotion center of the brain. Another way we can think about that when we talk about food cravings, because of course food cravings are highly emotional, is that we're quickly and rapidly unlearning our food cravings. So the presence of those food cues can be there, but our brain is just not interested in them. And again, this is a female participant, and we see the same thing, a lot more of that orange brain activity beforehand and a lot less after. And in fact, out of all of the participants in that trial, there was only one who was in the tapping group who didn't have that effect. So it works very, very reliably. And that's another really important thing, I suppose, to know about the tapping technique. It works quickly. The results last a long time, but it works incredibly reliably. It works with almost everyone. So here is an example of one of our clients one of our members, actually, of one of our online courses, who talks about, I think she highlights the brain changes, the experience of what happens when you create these brain changes really, really well. So I thought I'd just share with you her little story because I think it highlights the changes in the brain that happen really, really well.
To give you an example of a time I've used tapping for a craving, my husband brought home a box of cinnamon donuts, which normally they'd be on the bench for not even a day because I would eat them. This time that donut box hit the bench, I opened it up and I started tapping. 3 minutes later, put the donut down. I'd eaten half of it, but then I didn't touch it again. I forgot about them until 3 days later. I noticed that they were going off on the bench.
So a nice little story to help, again, give you a bit of a feel for what actually happens when you do the tapping. So if you would like to experience some of the benefits that some of these online tapping participants have experienced, let me talk you through the latest and the greatest offering that we have. This is, we've got a couple of people saying, yay, yeah, pretty cool. The newest tapping program that we have is 8 weeks and it starts July 12th, so pretty soon. We're going to start off with a bit of an introduction to the tapping technique just to make sure we're all up to speed. And Peter and I are going to run that, but really Peter is the guru. So I'm just going to kind of just welcome her and she's going to do most of the clinical work. In the second week, we're going to actually work on tapping away that desire for any less nutritious foods, and Peter's going to do that with you. This is the real thing that I think tapping is known for when it comes to food cravings, so we're definitely going to spend a bit of time on that. In the third week, we're going to actually tap into the desire, creating a desire for more nutritious foods, which is something that I've been supporting with for people with for quite a while, and so I'm going to take that webinar. Really cool. Once we've reduced the desire for less nutritious foods, we can actually use the tapping technique to create more desire for more nutritious foods. Then we're going to spend a week tapping away emotional eating, which is obviously a huge topic, and Peter's going to run that. Then we're going to spend some time tapping into physical activity. So you can see what we're doing here in this 8-week series is actually a lot more than that initial tapping away food cravings that we've done in those initial studies. Then we're going to spend a week tapping on drinks. So all sorts of drinks, water, soft drink, alcohol, anything you want to drink less of or drink more of. And then we're going to look at tapping into a more mindful and intuitive way of eating. And mindful and intuitive eating is my baby, so I'm going to take you through that. And we're just going to have some time in week 8 to tie it all together and troubleshoot. And again, I'll probably just wrap things up and leave all of the work to Peter because she is more so than me, the guru. But look, even in all of those, in every one of those webinars, we will have a lot of time to answer questions and help you through the challenges. So it's not like we're just going to be doing that in week 8. We'll do that the whole way through because obviously that's really, really important. So we kind of did a little bit of tapping on constricted breathing And like I said, you can tap on any problem. So we're going to tap on all of these things that are really, really common for our people to want to overcome. And all of this entire series is going to be done in our transformation support community, which is where which is what I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. And Carolyn asked the time for this course. So it's 8 weeks starting July 12th. And the time of the actual webinars for this series is going to be 12:30 p.m. So just after midday on a Wednesday. So Em might put up a time zone converter so you can see when that 12:30 p.m. Wednesday time is. So just after lunch on Wednesdays. But what we do know is that most of the people who do the programs in the transformation support community, most of them don't actually watch live. They watch it at a time that suits them. So that'd be something interesting to check out. It's like, okay, when, can I make that session live, or when would be a good time for me to watch afterwards? Now, we wanted to make this series as powerful as possible. So we decided to also include access to the whole EFT for Weight Management Online program. So that's the one that has the clinical research behind it. It's very in-depth, it's very comprehensive, and it covers all of those issues in the last slide, plus an additional 4. And these 4 issues were actually issues that the people in our online trial wanted addressed in the trial, but they weren't actually included in the program then. So we've actually added them into the program based on the participant feedback. And it's the things that we're going to tap on are tapping away weight worries. So concerns about the scales and how much weight you want to lose, that often does more harm than good. Tapping through social support, gaining social support, but also through any social sabotage that you might have. Tapping away resistance to change or internal sabotage, and then tapping into a positive body image. So as part of the tapping series, you get access for that to that entire program as well, that you can do as self-directed learning. And we've actually made that access available from now. So if you sign up to the program now, it will you'll have access to that, and you can begin the journey today if you wanted to. Yeah, and Karen said, should the start date be Wednesday, the 14th of July? We run the programs from week to week. So the webinars are on a Wednesday, but we do start things on a Monday. So you'll actually find that Sunday before, we'll send you an email, and we basically do things in the week. The webinar's in the middle of the week, but you get Facebook group support with Peter and our transformation support coaches the whole week. You can share what's going on for you that whole week. So we kind of do it in weeks, even though the webinar is on that Wednesday in the middle of the week. And yep, like Em said, the webinars are about an hour. What you'll find is that sometimes if we need to, we'll go a little bit longer, and sometimes we have an early mark. But yeah, around about an hour. So let me talk you through the transformation support community, because this is the program that you'll join to become a part of this series. So the TSC, as we lovingly call it, is really based on what we've learned from having online programs for years and years, and really taking a look at what actually helps people and what really works to help you transform. So the TSC is relatively new. It's just this year, starting in January this year, that we basically scrapped all of our previous online programs, took all of the best bits, and created the transformation support community. And I suppose the 3 main values of the TSC are simplicity. Your life is it's complicated enough. you don't need a complicated transformation process. So we want to make it as simple for you to change. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. It becomes too hard. You get overwhelmed. That just doesn't work very well. So we keep it very, very simple in the TSC. It's a supported program. All of our research and all of our clinical experience says that the more closely we can support you, the better you're going to do. So that's why we have the weekly webinars. You can ask any questions you want in the webinars beforehand and have them answered, whether you attend live or not. And Peter for this series will be in the Facebook group, and she is just the best at supporting people in these Facebook groups. She really digs into helping you troubleshoot your specific problems and apply the work in the tapping technique in a way that's right for you. And also flexibility. We want you to change in a way that's right for you. So an example for that is that, you know, those 8 weekly webinars will be the core of the program, and they'll be enough for you to just tap away with us, and that's all you'll need to do. But if you want to delve further and then delve into the online program, you then have access to it. But it's an opportunity for you. It's not an obligation. So we'll constantly talk you through and help you figure out how you do the program in a way that's right for you. So it's really not one size fits all. So what does the TSC actually involve? It has the weekly live webinars with me and the special guests, and Peter is actually the first of our special guests. So this is the first time the TSC has been taken over. Very excited for Peter to take it over. It's very fitting. We've been working together for a long time now. It also includes access to our entire 12-month transformation. So there are 5 programs that involved in the 12-month transformation, designed to help you set yourself up for success, cultivate a mindset for transformation, develop naturally healthy habits that last for life, overcome emotional eating, and learn to love your body healthy. So you get access to all of that. You also get access to my audio programs as well, and I'll talk you through them a little bit, I think in the next slide. We have a beautiful, special Facebook community that we spend a lot of time nurturing, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful place. And that has transformation support coaches who really will get back to any problems you have within 24 hours at the maximum, and really help you through the program. And like I said, Peter will be in that. We also have some optional, the option for accountability buddies. And that's a new thing. We're co-creating the transformation support community. So when we started, the group said, hey, can we have accountability buddies? So now we've got a beautiful accountability buddy system where we match you up, make sure you have a great accountability buddy to support you if you want one. We've just done up a beautiful welcome series. So when you join the program, you just get these short videos that help you understand everything you need to know and help you get all set up. And something that's upcoming, because we're always improving the program, is that we're doing these steps to success sessions where you actually get a 15-minute session with myself or one of the transformation support coaches, just to help you navigate any particular challenges that you're having, and just make sure that you're on your pathway to success and doing it in a way that is right for you. So that's basically what happens in the transformation support community. And I should let you know too that this is the only time we will do this program in the TSC. So this is really like a one-time gig. So why are we doing tapping in our TSC? The first thing is that the members wanted it. So our transformation support community people said, we want to do some tapping. And so I asked Peter, and she had the time and the availability, and she was keen for it. So that's the first reason. But then Peter and I got together and we thought, well, what can we do to make this the best experience that we've ever provided people? So as well as access to the whole clinically proven program, we actually wanted to include access to all of my audio programs. Previously, our tappers had limited access to 2 out of the 3 of my audio programs, and they're the ones that contain the hypnosis. And the hypnosis is really quite powerful. The combination of tapping and hypnosis works really well for a lot of our members. So we just decided, hey, in the TSC, you've got access to all of my audio programs, so that will work really, really well. We're going to do live webinars. We have actually done live webinars before in previous years, but one of the main things that we do in the TSC is we have a real focus on doing the work in the webinars, whether they're live or whether you watch them later, but we do a lot of the work in the webinars. So there's very limited, there's a lot less homework for you because, you know, we're not all great at doing homework. So that's a real strength of the TSC. We wanted to incorporate this into the tapping series. And then Peter said to me, Glenn, I can actually do live tapping with some volunteers and actually work with them, and they will get the benefits, and then other people will get the benefits of, you know, because a lot of people will share their experiences. So that's going to be something that we've never done in the TSC or any of the tapping programs, actually do some interactive tapping, which is going to be super duper cool. So here is just a couple of members' experiences in the transformation support community. And there are a couple of people who are in here who I think are in the TSC. So if you want to share your experience of what it's been like for you, please do in the chat box. This is an example of Kelly. Kelly's done pretty well. And this is an example of another person who's done a really great job in the TSC. One of the things I really like about this feedback is that, you know, people actually look forward to the webinars. We want to make the program fun. You know, we don't want to make it too much of a chore. We almost want to make it like your favorite TV show, and people really look forward to the regular webinars. So they are a lot of fun. So if you want to experience some of the benefits that some of our tapping people have experienced in the online programs in the past, and some of our transformation support community members have, this is kind of what you got to do to sign up. And Carolyn said, webinars are awesome. Yeah, they're really, really cool. So this is basically what the deal is with the upcoming 8-week series. We're limiting new spots to 80 members, and that's because I can see our online program, the transformation support community, I can see it helping thousands of people. So I never will put a limit to the amount of people that we can support, but I do want to make sure that we grow in a way that we can actually support people better as we grow. So I don't want it to grow too fast. So we're just allowing 80 new people in the transformation support community for this series. This is really the start of our proper promo, and we already have 15 spots gone. So this one will definitely sell out. So you just register now to secure your spot, and then you can spend the time up until July 12th just getting to know the TSC program, working your way through some of the introductory part of the tapping course if you want to. Just get familiar with the program and how it works, and then it's a really good time for you to then be ready to hit the ground running with us on July 12th. Now, the normal price of it is $120 a month, but we did an introductory membership price for 25% off, and we have kept that going all year, just because, like, I think COVID's like put a lot of spanners in a lot of people's work. So we're loving the program, and we want you to join. So that's available until July 12th, actually till midnight, July 11th. And you just sign up via the sales page. Make sure you enter your little coupon code, which is on that page, for the details. And Em will, Emma's already put up the links there. And guys, good timing. So Em's put up the link for if you want to sign up. Good timing. We've gone about on 8:30. Let me just talk you through. I had a couple of FAQs. No, you don't have to attend the live webinars. Look, if you miss a webinar, will you fall behind? You won't really. We want you to attend as many as you can, of course. But you see a lot of those topics that we're going to be tapping on. We've done them in an order that makes sense, but there is a level of arbitrariness to the order. So if you miss one, you can just join right back in, and they're all recorded for you. So you can catch up with them whenever you want. And we do make a real effort to, takes us a while to upload them, but we've sort of have them uploaded and ready for you within a few hours of the webinar generally. So you can really, get on top of them whenever you want. Now, if you want to cancel your subscription, Michelle asked a question, will they only be available for 8 weeks? Sometimes I have trouble keeping up. And Michelle, the answer is absolutely not. They will be available for as long as you're a member in the transformation support community. We know a lot of people, might miss a week or two and want to catch up. So no, once the webinars are done, they go into the TSC hub is organized into topics. So it'll just go into that topic, and each webinar will be there for you for as long as you want. Yes, if you want to cancel your subscription, that's fine. You're not locked into anything. You can cancel anytime. Every 8 to 12 weeks we do a new series. So this is the upcoming series, and we just had someone who's just finishing our previous series, just signed up for the previous series and said, "Oh, Glenn, I'm going to miss the webinars so much," and a little sad face emoji. She was talking to me on Instagram, and I said, "You don't have to. You're in the program until you cancel. So if you want to just join, say, just for the tapping program, then you can just join for that program and then just cancel your membership straight away. There's no contracts or anything like that." I've talked to you about the members. Kate said, what was our discount code? Discount code is super simple. It is on the website, but it's just transform. So it's super simple. You get that in, and then you get that 25% off for as long as you're a member. So you kind of get that off for life. So I'm done talking. Now, this is probably, this is one of the bigger sort of informational, invitational webinars we've done. So I think we've done a good job to keep roughly to our planned hour. But I'm going to do what we always do in the TSC, is that if we need to go for a bit longer, we will. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm coming back to all of seeing your faces. So firstly, let me say thank you everyone for being a part of that, and especially for making the exercise really, really useful, and for listening to the research. I know sometimes the research can be a bit dry, but to me, the research is something that shows this is not Peter's great idea. This is not something that Glenn has started to try with people. This is something that science in peer-reviewed, published journals actually shows us can work. So it gives you a level of comfort that this can work for you. So I won't take offense for anyone who wants to duck out if you don't have any questions. I think you have all of the information. Let me just look in the chat box and we'll have a little chat for 10 minutes or so. Oh, cool. Christina said the weekly webinars in the TSC are fantastic. I've booked in each week. You can fit the work in throughout the week, work at it at your own pace. Support is the Facebook page and your accountability buddy. So Christina's got both the Facebook page and the optional accountability buddy. What we're going to be suggesting for people who are doing this series is that you get an accountability buddy, and potentially you can even tap with your accountability buddy, because that's a really good type of support. Oh, so Ruth said, so if I have just this week joined the transformation support community, will I be able to register for this? The answer, Ruth, is you are already registered for this. So just don't cancel and you are in. So that's the easiest thing. You've already done your homework. You're just too good. You're already kicking goals. Yeah, there's a couple of people. So anyone who's already enrolled in the TSC, You don't have to do anything. It's just we're gonna have a webinar next week where we kind of catch up and just take stock of everything. We always have one of those webinars in between each series, so we can just kind of see where are we at, make sure we're all going in the right direction. I take all your feedback about any improvements that we can work on over the upcoming series, and then it'll just go straight into tapping. So that's an easy one. Cool. Stephanie said, thanks for your time. I'll see you next week. Oh, cool. And Tona said, I tapped on caramel as part of the previous program a couple of years ago, and I still don't crave it. Yeah. Yeah, in that very first research study of Peter's, which I just find fascinating, they asked the people in that 1 year follow-up, because those people were asked to choose a specific food, and most of them, I think it was like 72%, chose chocolate. But then afterwards, when they were collecting that data, they did these phone interviews with the people, and they said, okay, so you remember that food. And what they found was that a lot of the people had actually forgotten their problem foods. They said, your food that you struggled with was chocolate. And they went, oh yeah, actually, I kind of forgot about that. And I think that's pretty cool if you can get so far past a challenge food that you actually kind of forget that you even had a problem with it. Oh, what is Peter's surname? Stapleton. It's Peter Stapleton. Oh, Lisa, this is a great question. Lisa said, how much of the webinar will be practical experience? So this is, I think, the new thing that we haven't done before that we're doing in this series, is we're actually going to give you a few pre-readings, so if you need to know more about the technique, you can just learn about it. But apart from that intro webinar, we're actually going to do tapping and lots of tapping every session. And that's part of what we do in the TSC. We actually do a ton of the work as much as possible in the session, so you have the least homework possible. Lainey said, thank you. I'll be joining Glenn. I've had huge success with tapping and trauma in the past and feel like this will be the icing on the cake for me following weight loss surgery 5 years ago. Can't wait. We can't wait to have you, Lainey. And I think that sometimes if you do tap on something like trauma or something that deeper, we have had plenty of people who have tapped on other things and then come to this program. And this actually is the icing on the cake when it comes to food, exercise, weight, body image, because that's really the stuff that we specialize in. Although Peter is a clinical psychologist and she does a lot of tapping on the deeper stuff, but this program is great for working on those things that people tend to come to us to improve. So that's really, really cool. The other thing is too that there are a couple of studies that I haven't mentioned. There is another study that shows us that tapping is more effective than usual care, which is basically nutrition advice. Tapping is more effective than usual care in people post bariatric surgery. So if you're on your bariatric journey, we do have one study. It's only one study, but to show us that it is better than just doing your usual care in terms of long-term results. My 86-year-old mum, Sally, says, swears by tapping for headaches and stressful situations. And there's no doubt when we get to tapping on emotional eating that we often, want to tap on emotional eating to stop the emotional eating. But what ends up happening as a byproduct, and sometimes the byproduct is more transformational than the actual benefit, is that you end up resolving some powerful emotions, which is just as good and maybe sometimes better. So Chrissy said, I'm a bit confused. Does this differ to the 12-week program? So yeah, what it is, you'll get access to the entire 12-week program. So you can do that as independent learning whenever you want as part of the program. And we will direct you to this program and how it relates to the webinars. Basically, the 12-week program will be like optional pre-reading. But this series is really a practically based, let's get in there, let's tap through it, let's work on any of our particular barriers and all tap as a group. And you'll be encouraged in the group to, like we did. I don't know, there are some people in there that were a 0, for example, on the breathing. But maybe by me suggesting some things, they realized they weren't exactly a 0. And even if they were, they might have got some other benefits from doing the tapping. So we're actually going to be encouraging you to tap along the whole time and get the benefits in the session. And then the homework will be, we would definitely encourage you to be doing tapping for homework, but it will be more of an optional thing. Oh, Kathy asked a good question, and we might finish up with this unless there's any other burning questions. Kathy said, I was a little late joining, but are there parameters for who this works for? Any contraindications, reasons tapping might not be recommended for someone? I said, no, I said, Kathy, that one of the cool things about tapping, and if you watch this webinar over again, we did a tapping on a particular little issue, and most people across the board got benefits, even with a little crash course. So one of the cool things about tapping is it is super reliable. I used to be super surprised when my people would get benefits from tapping, and now I'm no longer surprised. I expect it. Cool. And Janelle's looking forward to getting back into tapping. Yeah, so this is a great way to reconnect with the tapping. We really, because tapping makes you feel better, makes you feel more relaxed, makes you feel calmer, makes you feel happier. Us therapists really like tapping too. I reckon that's a sort of a key as to why it's starting to take off with therapists, because it's good for us too. Guys, thank you so much for all of your time and all of your interest, and for being such awesome webinar participants. Like I said, especially in the exercise, it was a great exercise. I didn't quite know whether that would work, but in that short space of time, but we nailed it. Putting up with the science if that's not your jam, and then asking some really, really good questions at the end. So yeah, as Christina said, stay safe for everyone that's in lockdown, and we will look forward to seeing you guys in the program. See you later, guys. Take good care.